Hi, welcome to SMarketPlace. I'm Keith Reynolds. Good to have everybody back. Uh, we are a show about sales, marketing, and rock and roll. And we like to tell the secret sauce of sales and marketing experts and understand where they add value, what they'd advise a CEO about from their perspective, and then we talk about rock and roll. And it seemed to be a good formula. We're really enjoying it, and we get some super great insights, and we learn something every time. I am here with my co-host Tom Dempsey. Welcome, Tom.
Hey, Keith. Good to see you, my friend.
Good to be back in the rock and roll room again.
Oh yeah. And the update was, you remember the band The Smiths?
Yes.
One of my favorites of all time. So the guitar is a guy named Johnny Marr, and he was in town last week at the Paramount, so I got a chance to see him, and that was very exciting. He's one of my guitar heroes.
That's awesome. Well, the Smiths, great band.
Yeah.
And so that's cool. I have nothing to report on my end. My travels this summer is sort of outdid myself, and it's been busy since
Yeah,
Labor Day.
absolutely.
So, well, we have our guest, Erika Steinberg. Welcome, Erika.
Thank you. It's nice to be
Erica.
here with both of you.
Erika, you and I met on basically on LinkedIn, and we've been
Yeah.
interacting with each other and growing professionally on the platform. So really excited to have you on board. You are president of CMO2Go.
I am. I am. I started it about 5.5 years ago. It was my 50th
Tell us a
birthday
little,
present to myself.
tell us a little bit about your journey to get there and how and what you do.
Sure. Well, I have been working with law firms my entire career. So at this point, I have about 30 plus years in law firms. Most of that was spent working in-house at some of the biggest law firms in the world, always with the marketing department on the business side of the law. And about 5 years ago, I left the last firm that I was at, 5.5 years ago, and I started CMO2Go. I originally started it because I had moved from where I was. I left New York City, and I started it because as I was talking to lawyers in my new home, I would ask, what do you do for marketing? Tell me, how do you handle this? And I got a lot of blank stares, or I got a lot of questions about it. And then I realized, this is an opportunity. There are a lot of smaller and mid-sized firms that would benefit from working with a senior level marketing executive, but they don't need that person or those people all of the time. So I started CMO2Go. And just with most small businesses, it's evolved over the years. So now, really, I've got a team of people who I work with who I absolutely love and respect, and we have a great time working together. Now we provide senior level marketing support really to mid-sized law firms. We work only with law firms that have either urgent marketing needs or important marketing projects that they haven't been able to get to yet. So when I talk to our clients and prospective clients, I hear a lot of challenges, similar challenges. So they have urgent challenges, like they have an unexpected RFP from a client. They need help immediately. A key person on the marketing team is leaving, somebody very senior. They're leaving or they're going on leave for an extended period of time. And they need somebody to fill in at the firm while the firm finds somebody new. In other cases, a firm will find that they have marketing projects that they would really like to get to, but they either don't know where to start, they don't have a dedicated team, the team that they have is overloaded with work, or they have senior level work and a more junior level team. So when I talk to these law firms, what I hear is that they need help from people who really know law firms. They need that deep law firm experience. And they also need people who have the gravitas and the presence to work well with law firm partners, because they can be an unruly bunch sometimes. I say that with love. And what the firms really want also is flexibility. They don't want monthly retainers. They don't want to have to sign a long-term contract. So that's what we provide, really. We provide decades of experience with law firms. Everyone on my team has between 15 and 30 years of experience with law firms, and much of that with some of the biggest firms in the world. and we provide the flexibility of hourly work. So we're there when a firm needs us. We can go out, we can come back in whenever the firm needs assistance. We make it as flexible as possible for our clients.
So that's one of the terms we use is the marketing help desk, and it's a very flexible arrangement
Yeah.
that you provide.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
What is it that, in your experience, makes law firms unique versus a commercial operation? How are they different?
Well, I've never been at a commercial operation, so I'm not sure about how that works. But with law firms, you're marketing, you're not marketing a product. You are marketing and sharing information about the knowledge that the firm has, that the individual lawyers have. You're marketing your own expertise, your own experience. And so marketing a law firm is less about marketing a product. There's the marketing of the firm where you want to share information about everything that the firm has going on. You want to, of course, you have a website, you have all of the traditional marketing tools and activities. And then you also you work one-on-one with the lawyers or with the lawyers in groups, and you are helping the lawyers do everything that they need to do to prepare to go to their clients and their prospective clients. So it's quite different in that regard from marketing a product. It is, I don't know how else to explain it.
For
There we
that.
go. And go ahead, Tom.
Oh, yeah, you've developed a great, and I hate the word niche, but a category within marketing.
I'll claim niche. I got one.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
I know my lane. I stay in it.
Okay, fair enough. Then you've developed a great niche specifically with law firms, and it may even get more specific than that. How do you get most of your clients?
Most of my clients now have been coming through word of mouth, personal introductions. LinkedIn has been very good to me. I have my own marketing team that I work with, and they are absolutely fantastic. And we work together to keep my content on LinkedIn fresh and engaging and helpful to my clients. So more and more people are starting to find me on LinkedIn now. And then I work with one firm, and then another one will managing partners talk, COOs of firms talk, marketing directors talk, and I've been fortunate enough to have clients share my name with other potential clients. And I do a lot of networking, and the people who I work with also talk to a lot of people. We're law firm marketers. We like to talk about what we do. It's just it's one of those things.
Well, and that's very similar to the way lawyers operate themselves,
Yes.
right? Because you have a niche, and then you're either partner within a firm or somebody else at another firm. So it's all referral based.
A lot of it is referral based. A lot of it is, yeah, absolutely.
And how do you see technology changing the way marketers do that? When you and I first met, we were talking about HubSpot. What are some of the ways that this is transforming the way law firms market today?
Well, over the years, it's changed a lot, and it's made it possible for law firms and for lawyers to stay in touch with their current clients, with their potential clients. Technology like HubSpot, CRM, it automates so much that was not automated before. I think that before the days of CRM, if somebody wrote an article, they would maybe get a copy of the article and they would start, emailing it around to people, or really before that, printing it out and mailing it to people to say, this is something that may interest you. And with CRM, it offers law firms the opportunity to stay in front of their clients, in front of their prospects, and not only stay in front of them as a huge group, but to really drill down into what are their clients' interests. It's all about making things easier on the client. So what are the clients' interests? What are the things keeping them up at night? And you can slice and dice your contact list that way and give people the content that is relevant to them rather than just papering them. So that's changed. Social media has absolutely changed the game also. Firms are if a firm isn't on LinkedIn, then I immediately ask why. and it doesn't happen with the size firms that I'm working with now. It really doesn't happen very often. Most of them are on LinkedIn. They don't always necessarily know how to use it best yet, with, especially among smaller firms. They're not sure how to share the information, or I'll come into a firm and they'll say, we want every single lawyer in the firm to have at least 100 contacts on LinkedIn. And then I say, why? And they don't know, because somebody told them they should have contacts on LinkedIn.
Right.
And really, it's about, again, it's another tool that you have to share information that is relevant to your clients and your prospective
And
clients.
certainly each lawyer with their niche,
Yes,
right? It's not a generic 100, it's the 100 that you should be talking to.
absolutely. Absolutely. It shouldn't just be people who are on LinkedIn. So,
Do you
Go ahead,
develop
Tom.
different, oh, thanks. Do you develop different marketing strategies for different types of law, practice of law?
so not necessarily. The strategy is based on the firm's actual, whatever the firm's goals are. So if I'm working with a firm and we're starting at the beginning from a strategy and forming a plan, I'll come in with somebody on my team. We just did this earlier this month. Went into a firm and we had a couple of planning meetings with them. This firm has a few areas that they want to grow. And so we came in and we met with groups of lawyers in both of those areas, and I take them through my process that I've developed over the years. It's a very pragmatic process and it's collaborative. It's not me telling them this is what you're going to do. It's a very collaborative process. We build it over the course of a few hours, and plus the advanced calls that I have with them beforehand. And what we end up with, though, at the end is about 4 or 5 marketing projects or goals that they have to get them closer to their overall goal and to their overall objectives. I like, with my planning process, I think we've all sat in meetings where we have, you have a week's worth of meetings and then you end up with 100-page book and it's in this nice binder and then nobody ever looks at it again. So with my planning process, I like to boil it down to 4, maybe 5 very specific goals. We work out what the first steps are. We work out accountability, timeline, all of that before anybody leaves the room. And then everything, I have a summary of it that fits on one piece of paper so you can keep it right in front of you. And then I have members of my team who are also available to help a firm with the execution of those goals to keep people on top of it.
Okay, so that's your process, regardless of,
Yeah.
of law.
Yes, it doesn't matter if it's bankruptcy, if it's an office, if it's a client team, that would be the process. What we're surfacing, though, are the things that the firm can focus on. For, again, 4 or 5 things. You can't boil the ocean. 4 or 5 things that the firm can focus on, and then we work those projects, and then through the course of the process, it includes a big brainstorming session. We've got a whole list of things that we can then turn to as the next wave of things that will have the greatest impact on the firm and on their bottom line, because marketing is fun. I mean, for me, it's fun anyway, but it's about 2 things for me. It's about making sure that the people who need your services, the people who need your help, because lawyers have skill sets, there are certain clients that they can help. So ensuring that the people in the companies who need your help know that you're available to help them. It's about helping. And for the firm, if they're hiring me or any other marketer, it's about the bottom line. You want to see the revenue go up. You want to see those, you want to see those client engagements go up.
That's what's so what I find so cool about tools like HubSpot is that you're taking the lawyer who has or the firm that has an identified set of prospects that would be in alignment with what their services are.
Yep.
And then you map out the customer journey and use HubSpot to help manage that process so people are categorized in ways that you can communicate to them that are relevant, is what I heard
Yes.
you say. Tell us a little bit about the process then of developing content and helping people understand what it means to be a thought leader or an influencer, which in social media is one of the goals in that process of getting to the bottom line. How do you think about content and thought leadership when you work with firms?
Well, I think about it in terms of where does it fit in with their greater strategy? I'd be hard pressed to think about a client engagement where content wasn't part of it. It's not the sole focus or even the main focus that my team and I necessarily have. For instance, with a firm, let's say that they want to, I have a good case study. A firm that I was working with years ago was going through a leadership change. They wanted to, they were changing the name of the firm. There was a lot of marketing opportunity around that. And we stepped in with them. Actually, let me fast forward to them. And not that one, but 2 years later, I worked with them on their 50th anniversary. There was a lot of content that we wanted to share. This firm had wide-ranging expertise for a firm of their size, and they had a very loyal client base. And they were well known in their community. They were really a part of the community. So we mapped out a content strategy over the course of their 50th anniversary year, where we wrote about key areas of practice. We worked with the lawyers. We wrote about developments that were coming up later on that year that they knew that clients needed to know about. We shared all of this content on their website. We used their CRM to share it with people. We put it on LinkedIn. This particular firm is on Facebook. We shared it on Facebook as well. So we did think about that in terms of what are the areas of the firm that we really want to focus on and maybe also shine more of a spotlight on. So it included the practices that were already well known. We didn't want to ignore those, of course. But then there were a few areas where they felt like they could help people more. And so we were really focusing on those more niche practices. And we wrote about them equally and shared the information with their client base on, in a number of ways, of course. It's always about, one of my colleagues says, I hadn't heard this before. She said, we use the COPE method. COPE method, like create once, publish everywhere. So that's basically what we live by is, do it once and share it all over the place, chunk it up so you could share it in other places. And that it works. And it also has the benefit of taking up less time from the lawyers, because for the lawyers who I work with, marketing is always their side gig. At best, it's going to be a side gig. And they probably have 3 other things. They have their practice that they need to focus on. Everybody has their own, heaven forbid, you want to have a personal life and be able to spend time with family and friends also. And then they also make time for marketing. So I want to maximize the time that they spend on it.
So
sorry, not maximize, minimize the time that they spend on it and maximize what we do with it. That's what you say.
Let's retake that.
I know. We want to minimize the time that the lawyers spend on marketing, and that way we can maximize the results from that time.
So talk about the impact, because a lot of times, I work with financial people, engineering people, CEOs, you work with lawyers. They don't understand how media works. That's not their expertise. But when you put media out there, you get surprising results. And if you've done your job on the message and you've done your job on identifying the audience and you've provided a next step, you get results. Talk to us a little bit about then when you take people through that journey you just explained of gathering what information we should publish and putting it out in the COPE method. What do you see? Like, what transformation do you see?
Oh, let me think about that one. Probably what I see the most is first, the individuals like to see their name, whether it's on the firm's website or on the social media channels. So that's nice. And then the individuals get a response. What we also see is that for me, marketing is, there might be a time where somebody sees a particular LinkedIn post or they read an article and they say, this is, I have this problem. This person understands this problem. They read it at exactly the right moment. And that the lawyer gets a call and says, hey, I read this article and I think that you'd be perfect to handle this engagement for us. Let's talk. Most of the time though, marketing is about keeping your name front and center. So using content, using all of your marketing strategies, all of your marketing activities that you can, marketing tools really, to keep your name in front of the people who need to see it. So that way, when the problem does come up, a problem that you have the solution for, that the lawyer has a solution for, does come up, you're still top of mind. The firm is top of mind. That's what I see the most often. I had one client that was writing about their particular area of expertise. And we were putting it on the website, we were putting on LinkedIn, and then they got found because a publisher said, you know what, we'd really like you to write an article about this. Great. So the lawyers wrote an article. Two of the lead partners wrote an article about it. That got published. And then somebody else saw that and said, we'd really like you to come on this podcast. Can you come to speak to this? And then that then fed into a client seeing it and saying, oh, you know what, we need to bring you in. We have this round robin of presentations among all of our different law firms that we're working with. So can you present on this? So one thing builds upon the other over time. And that's, you know, that particular story, that was a tremendous impact for the firm. It was really nice to see. And it evolved over the course of probably 6 months. And it organically, you know, grew.
Mm. Yeah.
That's a great case study.
Yeah.
Oh,
they were good firm.
You must have hundreds of case studies, and maybe some of them revolve around. I don't know if you've ever had a client say, "All right, our branding, we want to be stuffy and conservative."
No. What I have had is people say, you know, we don't want to be stuffy and conservative,
right?
And then we go through a whole, you know, we try to like we go through a rebrand, and we start looking at their messaging, and then they keep falling back on the more conservative language that they're used to using. For some firms, not being, you know, stepping away from being stuffy and conservative is sometimes it's a big deal to use first names in their bios rather than Mr. or Ms. And so for a firm like that, that's a, you know, that could be a really big step. Maybe some of the lawyers take pictures without a necktie on. Oh my God. But you know, there are different, the key is to present yourself in a way that you would want to be presented if you were in front of a very important client. So I always say, you know, however you're presenting yourself, if you were going to be, think about how you would be if you were in front of your most important client. If you wouldn't wear a tie or a jacket, then don't wear a tie or a jacket, because obviously your most important clients don't need it. If you are, you know, so it depends on the personality of the firm and the individuals within the firm.
And on the, sorry, Keith, on the other end of the spectrum, the type of lawyer that's known for marketing, right, are a handful in every city. You see them on billboards, you see them on TV, you hear them on the radio, and it's that handful of like personal injury type law.
Yeah.
And I'm not dissing that in any way, but I'm just saying
they're fabulous marketers.
They're incredible.
They're great, especially at digital marketing. They know, you know, they have a message to get out. They often do, especially with a big plaintiff's firm, if they're taking on a big case, they've got to get the messaging right immediately and nail it down and then get it out to the world.
Right.
Yeah.
So the people who do marketing at those firms impress me to no end.
And they have to have the message out there all the time. And that's possible today.
Yeah. Yes, you're right. It's really changed the name of the game. When I was at my last firm, one of the people who I hired at that firm to be a writer was a writer for a plaintiff's firm. And the process that she described to me just blew my mind. So, and she's still at that firm. She's fantastic.
Very cool. Well, one of the other things in my career is the transition from getting the news to cover you to creating your own news. And in my work and community work over the years, I've worked with a lot of attorneys who volunteer their time and their money, and they're involved in the community, or they're involved in an industry association. Talk to us a little bit about how that activity can be leveraged into news that you then share out, and again, kind of contributing to that content and thought leadership, but really leveraged on where they're spending their time otherwise to build relationships.
Well, when I talk to lawyers about that and about their own community involvement, in terms of business, you know, it dovetailing with their business development efforts, I always tell them, pick something that you're passionate about. Don't go into it thinking, oh, this is going to get me new clients. Go into it thinking, this is something that's important to me. This is where I want to spend my time. This is an important issue, and I feel like I can make a difference, and I really want to help here. And then write about it naturally. You can share things on LinkedIn. You can share things on Facebook, and it will gather, every message has an audience, so it will resonate for some people. One of the lawyers who I know, he is fantastic at this. He's in New York City. He's part of the Billion Oyster Project that is reseeding oyster beds in the Hudson River. It has nothing to do with his law practice. He did not get into this because he wanted to meet new clients. He got into it because it was an important project for him. He's on the water all the time, and the firm posts about it. He posts about it, and people know him for this. It's a really fantastic project. I know another managing partner at another firm who really wanted to, he was looking for organizations. A lot of times lawyers are looking for ways to give back. And so they're looking for organizations where they can do more than write a check. They want to be able to really make a difference. And this one particular managing partner, we were talking about this, his father and my father were both veterans, and he wanted to get into something that would really help veterans. And he found an organization to help him do that. So are there business development benefits to that? Of course, but that's not why anybody is getting into it. That's not why you should get into it. For that benefit. You do it because it's something that's important to you and it makes a difference for you. And I think that when you come at it from that authentic place, that it's going to resonate with people, and that over time you will make connections based on that community involvement.
And that then gives content for social media. It makes
Yes.
you, the opportunity to put your personal brand out there. A lot, we talked about wearing a tie or not. That's one element of personal branding, but a lot of it is what you just talked about: is how do I support my community, my industry?
Yeah. And for lawyers, when you tell somebody, oh, put your own personal brand out there, and somebody hears get personal, it doesn't mean that you're sharing your deepest, darkest secrets. It means you can you can share content, share information about some of these other activities, some other aspects of your life. It can be, I've hiked, I don't know, 7 of the tallest peaks in the world. I mean, I haven't, not at all, but I've done this, or I'm part of the Billion Oyster Project, or I am, I'm on the board of this organization that really helps veterans in certain ways. And you can talk about those things, and it gives people an idea of who you are, and what's important to you, without, but it's not like you're getting all, again, you're not sharing any secrets about yourself. So personal can mean different things.
So we've talked about things that span the range of that prospective client journey, right? From just hearing about you in the news, to getting to know you a little bit, to using HubSpot to track, major deals,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that entire journey. If you were told you were having 15 minutes with a managing partner and you had to deliver something that's really going to impact their business, what would you advise somebody who has P&L responsibility, at that partner level, to focus on this year?
Well, normally I take them through a process that takes several hours to do that. But what I would always start with, start to think about what you want to accomplish in the coming year. I like to think about it from a planning aspect first, and then, back into the budgeting side of things. But sometimes, for some firms, they have a budget, and so they can do it the opposite way, and they can think about what they want to accomplish, what they've done in the past year. I think it's very important to measure and evaluate the marketing activities that you've already engaged in, determine if they were helpful to you. Measuring, that's one of the reasons that HubSpot is so fantastic, because it does help firms measure the outcome of things. You have actual numbers that you can assign, so you could see if your marketing has been fruitful or not. But I absolutely would counsel people, think about what you want to accomplish, think about the specific plans, look at what you've done. Has it been helpful? Has it not been helpful? What changes do you want to make? And document it. If you don't document it, either in a plan or a budget, it's just in the ether, and it's not going to help you at all.
If
Document
you,
it. I always say if somebody's not willing to write something down, then they're not really, and I write it down digitally, whatever, on a piece of paper, however you want to document it. But if you're not willing to do that, then I just don't see how it's that important to you and that much of a priority.
well, great leaders do that work and inspire others to go on that journey with them. And that's exciting to be in that kind of firm when you have those kind of leaders.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. See, law
Well,
firms are fun. They're way more fun than people realize.
mm-hmm. Yeah, marketing's a campaign, right? Hey, we're going here.
Yeah.
And we have to, just like if we were going to build a house or go on a long vacation, it's better to have a plan. Otherwise anything will do.
Otherwise, you're just kind of wandering around, you're shooting arrows in the dark. And law firms are complex and sophisticated businesses.
Right.
So it is not something that is just going to come about because it's just, a plan, you're not going to just find yourself going in the right direction. You actually have to think about it. But
Well, if you're trying to grow a firm, these are all the things I really appreciate you sharing that kind of perspective to the leaders of firms.
yeah,
And
I
I
love
think
it.
that
I mean, this is something that I've been doing it for, more than 30 years now. I've only worked with lawyers and law firms. And some people, look perplexed when I tell them that, but I say, you know what? I work with really smart people. It's different all the time. I'm challenged and I'm learning in my work all the time. And it is, and I really love the people who I work with. So being in my and having it be my own business now, I have the benefit of getting to work with firms that I really like to work with. So I can pick my clients.
that's terrific. So now transitioning over to what you do in your spare time, tell
Ah,
us a little bit about your music experience, rock and roll, and who was your favorite band? What was your first concert? Like tell us about your rock and roll experience.
oh my goodness. Well, for me, my rock and roll experience like is intertwined with pop music also because I was in junior high and high school in the 80s. So I was listening to all kinds of crazy stuff. My first concert though was Duran Duran at Brendan Byrne Arena.
Mm.
And I
Mm,
found out decades later, that my husband was at that same concert. So um, when they went,
Wow.
yep. And then I finally saw them again. I didn't see them. I finally saw them again I think it was last October. So it was 40 years later. I finally saw them again. And they were just as good, of course.
that
Um,
was my college. Was Duran Duran
oh,
towards the later end of college, and they really had a unique voice um, that they brought to the culture was changing, and they were right on the edge of that culture change.
I wish that I could say that that's what mattered to me. I didn't even realize that they were even good musicians until I was an adult. I always, they were just cute. They were cute and the music was good. Who knew that John Taylor was
Rock and
actually a
roll.
really talented bass player? So now my husband now is a musician. He's been playing guitar for more than 30 years or no, more than 40 years now. What am I talking about? He's in his 50s. He's been playing since he was 7. And he's a very talented musician. So a lot of the music, we're very into music, and he loves playing live. He loves going to watch music live. So we've gone together. He's gone on his own. He's introduced my son to the to jam bands, so they love going to jam bands together, which is not my thing that necessarily.
It's a guy
Although I did
thing.
see the Dead a couple of times in the 80s down in DC when Jerry Garcia was still alive and playing with them. That I'm glad I got to see.
Hmm. I took my
You're speaking my language.
Yeah, yeah. My husband was a fish fan, so he's fish. I'm more dead. I
Yeah.
find that you're one or the other.
Yeah.
I've come to appreciate fish, but
That's a good,
Trey
that's,
Anastasio cannot sing. He's gotten better in his older age.
well, some would say, Phil can't sing, Phil Lash,
Yeah, that's true. Jerry can
or
sing.
anybody in the Dead, but they do, and they love it. But
Yep.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I've been a jam band guy, and I've taken my son when he was a kid to see the Allman Brothers twice.
Mm.
Oh, I would
Once
love
with
to see that.
Santana, and
Oh,
and that I love a good jam band, but it does tend to skew male.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I think when I think about the concert, God, I've seen so many now. The ones that I loved, I got to see the Police when they reunited. That was fantastic. I saw Sting. We were in San Antonio
Mm,
when my husband was working with his old company, and Sting was at a small venue in San Antonio, probably seated less than, fewer than 3,000 people. It was a
mm,
beautiful old theater, and seeing him there, that one. That's one that I have remembered for years.
right
Another
up
one
with
I've seen.
close and intimate. I mean, he's such
Oh,
a
really?
powerful
Yeah,
character.
really up close. It was fantastic. I remember seeing Paul McCartney in DC, and it was the first time I heard Beatles music played live by one of the Beatles. It was just, I was
Mm.
literally brought tears
Mm.
to my eyes. It was so great.
Wow, you've got quite a you were holding out us on that. You're like, "I no, no rock and roll." You are really hitting a home run on all these artists.
Oh, I love it. I think probably I've seen Billy Joel more than anybody, um,
Mm,
which just kind of happened. I've seen him over the years. I've seen him when I lived in DC. I've seen him a bunch of times in New York. I saw him with Elton John, which was fantastic. The two pianos set up on stage.
Mm.
mm.
Tom Petty. I saw Tom Petty was phenomenal. Tom Petty strutting around the stage. I don't know if you guys ever saw him.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved that one.
Yeah.
Loved it.
High
Loved
energy.
it. And Prince also strutting around the stage.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
It
so yeah, I haven't thought about it for a while. My musical taste is really like all over the place.
well, one of the things that got this podcast going is that, uh, after Tom and I met, we realized that Boston was our first concert in 2 different
Oh,
cities, but in the same period of time. And we started talking about how whether you're marketing a law firm, you're marketing a product or service, um, today the business needs to act like a band in that doing all the things we talked about, putting news out there, putting content out there, right? We're building an audience, just like a rock and roll band does. And then you monetize the audience by having a clear path from those people who know you to what you do, right? And
yes.
so the same set of skill sets in the digital world we live in today are really encaptured encapsulated by what rock and roll has done for 30 years to build that fish following, that dead following, right? And
Mhm.
then monetize it by licensing, by CDs, by streaming, by touring, by merch. All of those things are part of their business plan, but that's really the essence of it is good old fashioned entrepreneurism and tying the creativity to some outcome. So
Yes.
that's the thesis of why we're here, and you've just really exemplified a lot of that for us today.
Oh, thanks. I mean, I work with law firms, so I don't think anybody's unfolding posters of law firms and putting them on their walls like the way I had. My walls were covered in Duran Duran when I was 14.
You know, I've been at VC events where I'm thinking of one guy in particular I've worked with over the years. He was an attorney. He did startup work. He had worked with some of the big ones
Mhm.
in the New York area, and so when he came and spoke at events, people came to hear him speak
Okay.
and hear his presentations.
Yeah.
And he really developed a following of people. And this was early on in social media, but it was. I've seen in my own world lawyers who really put themselves out there, foot forward, and go out and share their knowledge at
Yes.
conferences, and they're the good ones fill the room.
Absolutely. And they're very dynamic and engaging. So, and they know how to, if you're lucky, they know how to explain something to you in a way that you understand it, where it's very easy to grasp the meaning of it. I
Mhm.
work with lawyers now. One of my new clients, one of the partners was telling me how he uses diagramming software to show his clients the flow of a transaction. And some people can read, people learn in different ways. So some people read and they can read they can read about the steps, they can read about the transaction in a contract, but other people really learn from they're much more visual in nature. So he said the diagramming software has been absolutely game changing for him, that he can diagram it and his clients are like, oh, okay, yeah, I get that.
Isn't that true in marketing? Now we're getting back to Mark. So
yeah, look at us. Okay.
yeah, we're getting back to it. But it true that regardless of what you do, you're going to be branded.
Yes.
You might as well control it and control what your brand is, as opposed to not, and then just letting people think of your firm in the way that they do. And it may be very different for different clients or different potential clients.
Yeah. Yeah. And when I work with a firm and I do the planning process, I take them through the planning process. The first thing that I do is I meet with each of the participants individually beforehand, just, quick 20, 30-minute call. And one of the questions I ask them is, how do you want your practice, your firm, whatever, to be thought of in the marketplace? What do you want clients and prospects to say about it? And so then I know this is what they really, this is the direction that they want to go into. So we can start to, you draw yourself a map and you can start to follow that map.
Yeah.
Well, this has been fascinating. We thank you for sharing your knowledge, and we look forward to putting that out on social media and sharing this experience. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. A lot of fun.
Absolutely. Thank
Terrific.
you. We say this, every time, and Keith and I learned so much from our guests, and we learned a great deal from you and really appreciate it.
Thank you.